1. I'm a 39-year-old woman. She's probably in her late 50s. We'll call her Daenerys. We share an apartment with other roommates, a couple who have only lived here since August. I've been here over a year because I am physically disabled, on a very limited income, and can't afford to move even though she is a mean, manipulative liar. Mean is the best way to describe her because she is absolutely nasty. Just vindictive and awful. She bullies me, and I've been ignoring her because, as I said, I can't move. The TLDR version is I finally called her out on one of her lies, and it led to a verbal altercation, after which I went to my mom's for a week, and when I came back, she started crap again immediately, and I gave the attitude back because I'm sick of what is 100% psychological abuse. Verbal abuse, gaslighting, lies, manipulation, all of the usual suspects. Her reaction to me arguing back, she pulled out her phone and started recording, which is never a smart thing to do if you're a compulsive liar. You should only film things for evidence when you're telling the truth entirely. But whatever, she's so incredibly dumb. So, she filmed 4 minutes of us yelling and then sent it to my mother, claiming that I am unhinged, an out-of-control psycho who has been harassing her to the point she fears for her safety. Yet the video ends with me trying to escape her, going into my room and closing the door to create a physical barrier between us, while she runs her mouth antagonizing me from the other side. She's such an idiot, she genuinely believed that the video depicts what she claimed it does instead of what it actually shows, that she is abusive to me, and she is trying to manipulate the situation and appear as the victim in order to vilify me when she later claims to fear for her safety during our arguments. She literally handed me the video evidence to prove that she's a manipulative liar. And yeah, you read that correctly, I am physically disabled, she is not, but she's trying to claim she fears violence from me. I have a combination of an autoimmune disease and a neurological movement disorder, so I often use a cane and occasionally wheelchair. I'm also so weak, I usually can't carry a bag of garbage out to the bins, and have to use my wheelchair to do it. Kind of hard to paint someone as a massive threat when all you have to do to avoid harm is walk away at a brisk pace. But that's the narrative she's chosen, because that's her MO. Start it, and then play the victim. Problem is, as I've said, she's really dumb, but she thinks she's a brilliant puppet master, pulls the strings behind the scenes, she's genuinely delusional. The first time I realized how crazy she was, about a year ago, when she told me that I needed to use different silverware from her because of my autoimmune disease, despite the fact that she claims to understand it is in no way contagious. She believes that was a completely rational thing to request, and thought I was the one being way out of line for refusing to alter my behavior to appease her irrational emotions. Another part of my autoimmune disease is being essentially allergic to sunlight. It's not technically an allergy, but I get a rash on exposed skin, and can get very sick from it. So I tend to be low on vitamin D and have to take a supplement. We were just casually talking about it, back when I was still speaking to her casually, which I haven't for months, and the following exchange happened. "You just need to get more sunlight." "I'm allergic, remember?" "And use an umbrella." Y'all, that doesn't make any sense. It's both stupid and irrational. And it's been over a year of this illogical liar who bases all her thoughts and behaviors solely on her emotions and not logic. Another anecdote to illustrate how unintelligent she is. I buy Totino's pizzas, the cheap rectangle ones which come in the box the exact size and shape of the pizzas themselves. She takes the pizzas out of the box to make more room in the freezer. That's incredibly unintelligent. Incredibly, it suggests she doesn't even have a functioning understanding of how physical objects work, and she's only doing this because someone else told her it makes more room. And it does, when the box is bigger than the friggin' contents inside. And she's parroting it without truly understanding it, which is genuinely unsettling for a grown adult existing in the real world without any kind of supervision. Another example, a few months ago, a maintenance guy had to replace her doorknob. When he did, he accidentally locked it, locking her dog inside her room. When she got home maybe 2 hours later and found her door locked, y'all, she went into full crisis mode like that dog was locked in that room on fire, instead of the same room where she spends all day every day, while she's at work. And how did she deal with this situation? She yelled at me for what the maintenance guy did. And what he did wasn't something that deserved yelling at in the first place. It was a minor irritation that she escalated to a crisis for absolutely no reason whatsoever. And then she yelled at me because she is the abuser, not me. And how does she rationalize her behavior? She claims that I said it's just a dog, which I didn't. What I said was, she's just locked in a room. But let's just say I did say that. Let's just pretend I did. Why would someone being dismissive about your dog when your dog is not in any kind of distress or danger be reason enough to yell at them? It wouldn't. But she's so far gone from rational thinking that even her nonsense rationalizations don't excuse her behavior because they don't make sense. As for the incident that kicked off our first screaming match, is that I texted her asking for our new roommate's cell number and she refused, claiming she didn't feel comfortable doing that. Refusing to give the number of one person you live with to another person you live with is not rational, and the only reason she did it was to be antagonistic. I pointed out she was being unreasonable and she started giving attitude. I warned her not to start with me because I had not slept in 3 days, and it was true, not a single wink. And her response was, "I haven't slept in a month." For those of you unaware, that is physically impossible. Humans are not physically capable of being awake for 30 days. After about 4 days, you're in hallucination territory. A couple of days later, you're in full-blown psychosis. And about 2 weeks in, or even less, you'll be dead. The world record is about 11 days or something, but they don't recognize the category anymore because people trying to break that record might literally die from it. As a former medical professional and lifelong insomniac, I'm very aware of these facts. I responded, "That's a lie. It's physically impossible to not sleep for a month." Her response, "You're blocked." She blocked me because I called her out on the lie that I can objectively prove to be a lie. That's mature and reasonable. And the next time I saw her, about 30 minutes later, she started nagging me because I closed the door too hard, and yeah, I snapped. 3 days of no sleep, and then her ridiculous attitude. Yeah, I yelled at her, told her I was sick of her attitude and lies, and the way she treats me and what a nasty person she is. She started throwing her hands up, claiming, "You're out of control, I'm afraid of you." Which made me even more angry because I knew exactly what she was planning to do, which was to play the victim card. And as someone who was an actual victim of abuse, and not just from her, it enraged me. People like her are the reason actual victims have a hard time being believed, and she is absolutely disgusting to try and wear victimhood like a costume in order to manipulate situations to her benefit when she is 100% in the wrong. I despise her for that. After this incident, I went to stay with my mom for a week. The day after I got back, she used my air fryer to roast something, got it all scummy, and then left it soaking in the sink for me to clean. And not the first time. So when I saw her, I simply said, "Don't use my air fryer anymore." And I said it as I was walking away from her out of the room because I was not looking for a fight. Her response, "Don't effing talk to me, I'll use whatever I want." So we got into it, and that's when she whipped out the phone and started recording. She kept claiming I was acting this way because I wouldn't give her a phone number. Which is weird framing considering the text message history exists proving my version of events, which is that she blocked me for calling her out on her lies. Which she doubled down on, claiming I haven't slept since the wreck. She was in a car accident a month ago, and proceeded to start complaining about how much pain she's been in. She had the gall to start complaining about her month-healed temporary pain to someone with a progressive permanent nerve condition. That's staggeringly ignorant, and it illustrates her lack of awareness and her raging self-centeredness quite well. She also told me I should tread lightly because she's the head of the household and can get me evicted. I asked the office, she was lying. But even though she'll threaten to get me evicted to try and manipulate and control me, she won't sign off the lease and let me move out. You'd think if I were truly this out of control, an abusive person that she's afraid of, she'd let me move out, right? And because she was intending to play the victim, and has clearly done this before, she knew she needed to stay on video that she was afraid of me. However, she said, "I'm afraid of you." But when I tried to leave the room and end the conflict, she pursued me to my room and kept antagonizing me through the closed door, claiming I'm afraid of you while literally following the other person as they try to get away from you does not land the way you think it does. Then her dumb self sent the video to my mother, so now I have it. So anytime she tries to claim that I'm the abusive one in the situation and she's afraid of me, I can just whip the video out. Which I'm aware is hilarious, but I'm too angry to enjoy that right now. Then yesterday she texted me, "Truce, I'll leave you alone and respect you in your space, and you do the same to me. You're no longer blocked on my phone. This is the best way for the two of us to live a quiet, happy life here." So it took her 2 weeks of fighting and losing it to come to the realization that roommates need to be able to communicate, which is A, why it was ridiculous for her to block me, and B, why it was unreasonable to refuse to give me our roommate's number in the first place. But I didn't respond to her message because I know she isn't genuine. It's a manipulation tactic, my guess. She showed that video to someone smarter than her who explained it doesn't depict what she claims it does. Because if she believed she had video evidence of me, that makes her appear the victim and me the victimizer, there's absolutely zero chance she would go the route of civility and rationality. She has just realized she fecked up her victim narrative, so she's backpedaling. I want to move out so much, but there's no way she's going to let me out of the lease, and I can't afford to pay rent at 2 places. I just don't know what to do. I pretty much never leave my room, and when I do, I hit record on my phone so I have evidence against whatever crazy lie she tries to come up with next. I'm absolutely miserable here. I have emailed the parent company of the rental company explaining the situation briefly and asking to discuss options. If they are not willing to work with me, I will be breaking the lease and moving out. If she tries to sue me for the rent, I will countersue for the harassment. I am recording every time I leave my room, so I will have evidence. I am not living with her until August. That's all there is to it. 2. I'm 31, non-binary, and my roommate is 44 and female. We moved in together. She moved in 2 weeks ago, I moved in 1 week ago, because the move involved changing cities, and I wanted to finish out my 2 weeks at my previous job. I have known this person for nearly a decade, but we had never lived together in any capacity. But we were both in need of a place to live, and due to some debt-related issues on my end, turns out on both ends, but I won't speak to her issues on that, our options were limited. Halfway through looking, she told me she needed to move to a city 2 hours away. I was in an extended stay at the time and desperate, so, provided she found a place there, and it was set in stone definitely going to happen, I'd move there. I was leaving a job I loved, but at the end of the day it was just a job. Well, a place was found. It's gorgeous and far more than I could have hoped for, and very pet-friendly, which was something nearly impossible to find in the previous city. She is disabled and can't drive, so I drove a U-Haul, as well as a few more additional trips back and forth to move in my stuff as well as hers, since she otherwise had no way of getting some of that stuff there. Finances for both of us were rough, but we made it work, including me going non-stop from sundown to sunup, working extra shifts and DoorDash in addition to moving my own things and her things, including massive snake tanks. I covered the majority of those costs due to her more limited income, but she had fronted more with deposits and stuff that I have since paid back in full, so at the time I saw it as fair. The day before I moved in was when the trouble started. She got a dog. I have 2 dogs already, she had 1. But we had no discussion about her getting another dog. It was just surprise. The dog did not get along with my mostly neutral boy, and then her other dog started guarding the furniture in the living room, and got into it with my boy as well. I expressed my concerns, and then have just essentially been keeping my dogs locked in my room since I moved in, because I don't want to deal with any fights or policing interactions. She allows her dog to roam freely around the house, and he's not entirely housebroken, it seems. More than once I have walked into the entry or living room to find a pile of poop or urine. Her cat was also particular about litter. Didn't like the litter, so was also urinating and defecating in the hallway. I would ask her to clean it, and she would, eventually, after she finished whatever she was doing, meaning playing with her snakes and doodling on something, and then do a bad job at cleaning it. And that was with a lot of things, not just cleaning. My cat and other dog are on special diets. They need to stay only eating their food. I made this clear multiple times. Do not leave food out for her cat and dog, at least not in a common area. She'd verbally agree, but every single day I'd find a big bowl of cat food in common areas that is left all day. I will move it even, and then it'll be back, so I've been keeping my cat locked in my room as well. Maybe it's disability related, I don't know. I keep trying to address things, and she seemed receptive, at least verbally. So at that point, 4 days in, I feel like we can make some changes and it might work out, even if I have to look into buying a microchip feeder for her cat out of my own wallet. and then keeping it when I move, obviously. Then, while I'm out door dashing and earning money for November's rent, I get a text essentially telling me that she got a job offer in the city we left, that she already accepted, and that she already told the landlord she's breaking the lease and leaving. No prior discussion. And now, after November, I'll be stuck with the whole rent because she's definitely leaving. I uprooted my life and moved 2 hours away because this person insisted it was the only option while I was in a state of desperation. And not even a week into living together, they're dipping. I will not be helping her move back. It will be tight, but I can manage the rent alone, thankfully. Between DoorDash and the field I'm trained in, I'll be okay. I'll work on my debt as much as I can considering the higher rent, and once the lease is up, I'll either see about renewing or finding something cheaper or further rural. I've already grown to love this town, and despite this start, I can see myself living here a long time. Our friendship is just surface-level politeness at this point, after her continuously playing the poor me card because moving is stressful and she can't afford it, and doesn't know what she's going to do, and I'm just ready to have her gone, so I can live my life without cleaning up her animals' feces and wiping counters after her uncleaned food spills, and worrying about her dogs causing problems with mine. 3. I had a roommate named Bernice, who I let move in with me because her and her boyfriend broke up. I was somewhat friends with her, and she agreed to split the rent, so I didn't have an issue with it. I had a 1-bedroom, 500-feet apartment, so she set up her bedroom in the living room area. Things were fine, and I knew she was a bit messy, but ended up being a bit of an understatement. I am messy too, but I couldn't even walk through the living room to kitchen, and the kitchen was always left horrendous. Like ramen noodles stuck in the stove eyes, sauce staining the countertops, mold on stuff she waited weeks to put in the sink. It would take weeks for her to even touch the dishes. She got dirty. Rat food spilled on the floor. She was a bit clumsy and would spill a ton of stuff and would never clean it up. I was like, okay, she's got a depression room, I get it. I helped her clean sometimes and just politely asked her to do the dishes whenever it got bad. That's bad, right? But manageable. Then she had 3 rats, 2 young ones, and an old past expiration date one that peed himself all the time. He was sweet, though. She also had a bearded dragon and a boa constrictor. She had a new boyfriend and literally never came home to take care of her animals. Like the rat is so old he pees himself and needed his cage changed out daily, or else the smell would radiate through the entire apartment to the point your eyes would burn. She would leave him for weeks before she cleaned it. The bearded dragon, I only saw her feed it 3 times in the span of 3 months. The boa constrictor, maybe twice. And last of all, the other 2 healthy rats she didn't really like got neglected for so long they died and started rotting in their cage. Well, I brought it up a few times that I feel bad for her animals, and she seemed cordial enough and was like, yeah, I'll do better. She moved all of her animals into her boyfriend's apartment. Cool. Maybe she did better with them there since she was there all the time. And things seem okay, until my boyfriend tells me his friend's girlfriend got a text from her asking if she could move in a new apartment with her, planning not to give me a heads up. Well, she was warned by other friends about Bernice and ultimately said no, but upon hearing that I decided it would be best to have her find a new place, because I felt my apartment becoming a hellhole, and her planning to move out without giving me a heads up really rubbed me the wrong way. I told her that the apartment was unfortunately too small for the both of us and that it wasn't against her, and told her she had 3 months to save up and find a new place. Well, she decided to move directly into her boyfriend's apartment and leave most of her stuff here for another 2 months. She also decided to cry and whine to her ex, which my boyfriend and I are friends with, that I forced her to move into her boyfriend's apartment. Yikes. But when she came back to get the rest of her stuff, she was all friendly and acted like she was fine. Double yikes. I acted friendly back and told her I would still be her friend and that she could come over whenever, but of course, she stopped talking to me completely and started gossiping about me, saying I was messy to her ex, who also has stopped being my friend because of course he isn't over her yet and wants to stand by her. I get it, love makes you silly. But then after a month or 2, I didn't hear anything else about it and was going on with my life. Then the most recent event, today. I got a weird call from my apartment complex, and they asked me if I had a dog. They said that a girl came into the office and said that she was my old roommate, and that I was severely mistreating my dog. Here's the kicker. I don't have a dog. The lady that called me said that Kay was trying to get me evicted for animal abuse. Yikes. So yeah, I sent her a text too, just to confirm it was her, and said, "Hey, did you chat with the front office?" And she said, "Yeah, why?" To which I sent her a nice long text, asking why she couldn't be mature enough to tell me she's upset to my face, rather than deal with it like a psycho bitch with the middle school maturity level. People can be as passive-aggressive as they want, but when they start messing with my home, that makes me red hot. 4. Nurse, roommate that has been living at this apartment since last year, in a bit of a tight financial situation, but is very responsible. Mr. HOA, the problem child. Mom is a lawyer, the youngest child out of his siblings, has ADHD, takes his legal marijuana, and drinks although not 21. Lily, nurse's dog. She has cancer and was supposed to pass away during August, but is still alive. Ruby, our other cat, owned by A, alias for now, who is my partner's cousin. Ruby is with us due to A not being able to keep him at her place, not registered with the apartment. Plan was for my partner to be the temporary owner until next August when A would be able to live with us. Now, on the day everyone moved in, Mr. HOA got into an argument with Nurse about how he's an irresponsible owner for being in a financially tough situation while taking care of the dog, how bad his parents were, and how terrible the dog's condition is. He has made statements like, "You should put her down," during this argument. However, Mr. HOA said he was okay with living with Lily during the first Zoom meeting and over text. One time, Lily has peed on the carpet, and Mr. HOA complained about it. Nurse agreed that it was an issue and put potty pads, kind of like a picnic sheet for peeing, on Lily's preferred spot, as well as offering indoor flip-flops. However, Lily then avoided the potty pads and decided to poop right next to it. After seeing this, Nurse decided to keep Lily in his room and the door locked whenever he wasn't in the apartment. He has also cleaned the carpet where the pee and poop happened, and it is very difficult to see or smell where it happened. I couldn't tell at all when he pointed it out. One Saturday morning, we discovered the entire kitchen flooded due to someone leaving the sink on overnight. Everyone but Mr. HOA has an alibi, and he himself has said, "Oh shoot, it could have been me," on the day of discovery. This results in a damaged counter with certain parts being waterboarded. A couple of days later, Mr. HOA denies all allegations because he was high and drunk and doesn't remember. One time, Ruby damaged part of the couch. My partner took responsibility for the couch damage, and I bought couch protectors and couch repair kits to attempt fixing and prevent future issues. A also bought a big cage so Ruby can stay in the cage when unsupervised to prevent any damages. Ruby has since been inside the cage when not under our supervision. Everyone gets an email saying there's going to be an inspection on Monday, 3 days from when we get the email. Mr. HOA summons us that night to discuss how he contacted the apartment manager about the animal issues. He shares how he doesn't want to take responsibility for the damages caused by the animals and how he filed a complaint. When asked for the reasoning why he didn't discuss with us before contacting management, he states, "Because that's what I felt was right," and states he will do what I consider right in future scenarios. He also states that he and his mother want us to sign a contract that wants the pet owners to take responsibility for all damages caused by the pets. Hasn't been sent to us yet. He also wants Ruby out of the apartment, and when I asked him what this solution for relocation was, he said, and I quote, "It's not my problem." Nurse tells my partner and I that he's not going to sign anything. 1, since he is only liable for 20% of his share. 2, any civil cases would cause more financial trouble. 3, any damage can be fabricated as pet damage without solid proof. Thus, he would be able to charge us for anything. Me and my partner decided to follow his advice and not sign anything. 4, we all agree to not sign the contract. 5, after hearing our responses, Mr. HOA says, But going on in the future, any unregistered animals must be removed from the property immediately, and if found, a fine will be placed on your account, as well as administrative fees. Hence the nickname Mr. HOA. Me and Nurse file formal complaints against Mr. HOA for 1. Not taking responsibility for the water damages on the counter, 2. Him doing weed in his room, 3. Nurse only for owning alcohol that Nurse didn't buy. Nurse is considering filing a restraining order on Mr. HOA since he has threatened to evict him and Lily despite being registered. Me and my partner spent the entire weekend asking around if anyone can take care of Ruby. We finally find someone after 2 days. A month later, while Nurse is cooking, Lily steps on Mr. HOA's shoes. Note, he puts his shoes directly in front of the walkway where it's pretty annoying. Mr. HOA glares at Nurse but says nothing. Nurse sends Mr. HOA a text on his responsibility of the shoes and offers a spot on the shoe rack. Mr. HOA puts his shoes closer to the wall and is now less out of the way, but it is still in the walkway. My partner asks Mr. HOA why he didn't clean the common area before inspection, and he says, because I don't use it as much as you guys. A few months later, the electricity bill comes in at a whopping $95. Everyone assumes it's because of Mr. HOA. I also remember how he said he runs his desktop 24/7 as a server, and believe that's another one of the reasons why it's so expensive. We're stuck with him until next August. Anything we can do? 5. We're 3 girls, we're all juniors in college. I had asked them to live with me when my 2 previous roommates had to move out. This was on good terms. They were 2 of my really great friends, which makes their recent behavior all the more confusing. It started when I left a dish in the sink for about 2 days. I acknowledged that I should have cleaned up my dish and made an effort to do a better job of cleaning up after myself. Then, a few weeks later, I left some dishes in the sink overnight to wash in the morning. The next day, they asked me to come get breakfast with them for family mealtime, as we had done a few times before after moving in together. I come home to an intervention-style conversation where I was confronted about a list of concerning behavior, in their words. This included the following. 1. I constantly leave dirty dishes in the sink. The 2 previous instances were the only problems to my knowledge, however I can see how those were problematic. 2. I leave food rotting in the fridge. I had some 2-week-old dry ginger in the fridge. I immediately threw it away and apologized. 3. I don't spend enough time with them. They had recently told me that I should break up with my boyfriend, to which I did not. Ding, 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 ding. I think we have a winner. Also, in this conversation, I made sure to put my bedroom lights on a timer because they had an issue with them being on for extended periods of time, especially when I'm not home. I again apologized and made an effort to consistently turn off my lights before I leave the house, in addition to using smart plugs to make sure they don't stay on overnight. I ended up going to my room to cry about how I felt blindsided by these girls, who I thought were my friends. I was really upset about their condescending tone and felt insecure about my cleanliness. After this conversation, I ended up letting it slide and made sure that I never left dishes in the sink again. I have really been on top of keeping the communal space clean and doing my communal chores that they assigned, more specifically the floors. This led to another argument. I, to this day, have been the sole person to vacuum the downstairs or clean the kitchen floors. These tasks were assigned to another roommate 2 weeks prior, who did not do them. This same roommate confronted me that I had not vacuumed the floor after she reassigned me the task. Here I finally stood up for myself. Do the dishes, Cinderella. Sweep the floor, Cinderella. I ended up making myself a chore chart that eventually distributed 1/3 of the communal chores and a calendar where I note the tasks that I complete. A day of silence goes by where I come home to the power in my room being shut off. I didn't think anything of it, so I go downstairs to check the breaker, and the switch to my room was turned off. I thought it was strange, but I just turned it back on and went about my night. Yesterday I came home to the power being off in my room again. I connected the dots and realized that my roommates were turning off the power to my room when I left the house. I turn it back on and realize the issue was a small lamp that I had forgotten to turn off. Since I had been making an effort to turn my lights off, this was not an everyday occurrence, which is why it had taken a few days for the power to be turned off again. Frustrated, I texted them to please stop, as I felt it was petty. I reminded them that my lights turned off by themselves every night and how it was a single lamp. They rebutted, saying that our power bill was extremely high, and how the little things add up. When I mentioned that they too leave the lights on when they're not using them, they called me childish, and that I'm not understanding what they're asking me. What can I do in this situation? I feel like I'm arguing with a brick wall, or that I'm missing something that I've done wrong. I have asked my leasing agency to see if I'm allowed to put a lock in my switch, but I'm still waiting on a response. Thank you for reading. I am feeling very upset and would love any advice offered. Hellfreezers, don't speak with the leasing agency, see if you can get out of there, because those bitches aren't right, and they are bitches of the highest caliber. They're not your friends. They might have been once, but they're definitely not your friends anymore. Salt the earth, make sure nothing grows again. Get out of there, run far and fast as soon as you are able to. If the power bills are high, it's not because your teeny tiny little lamp is getting left on a little bit longer than they would like in your room, so it's none of their business. Probably one of them running something 24/7 that really doesn't need to be going. Or maybe they're just not taking into account the fact that there are certain things in the kitchen, like your refrigerator and so on. Maybe you've got a cooker that has a clock on it. That's always going to be on if you leave it on. I mean, mine has that feature, but I always turn it off when I'm not using it. And there'll be a bunch of other things that are just kind of, passively using power because that's how they operate. Then, of course, there is such a thing as a standing charge. You'd probably want to look to see what the standing charge is for power in your area, or at least with the company you're contracted to. But yeah, as I was saying, run far and fast. Tell everyone you know, tell your real friends, tell your boyfriend if you have one, your girlfriend, I don't know, not judging, just spitballing. Tell their mothers, tell their fathers, tell their greengrocers. Let everybody you know that in that house, electric bitches dwell. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Bad Roommates, episode 38. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and also support the channel. You can do that on my Patreon page for as little as $1 a month. You get the videos early, and I get to keep making videos for as long as I can. Okay, no other business today, so let's move along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, in fact, I think somebody sent me one via the Googles. Let's see, Gmail. Yes, they did. This one comes from Doomghost76. What is the best commercial that you remember seeing growing up? Mine is Budweiser Frogs commercials. And they told me the birthday, but they didn't ask for a birthday shout-out, so I don't really know what to do with that. Yeah, don't really know what to do with that. Well, I guess I could save it in the birthdays folder and possibly do a birthday shout-out the following week. Yeah, I could do that. So I will. Well, let's see. Memorable commercials growing up. I recall one for Vitalite, but it used the song The Israelites. Wake up in the morning wanting some breakfast. Ooh, ooh, Vitalite, that's right. So much so that I think of Vitalite, which is, it's fine as a butter spread. It's not great, it's not awful, it's fine. I buy it sometimes. I've had better, hashtag not spawn. And, yeah, so I think of that before I think of the actual song. Let me know what you think in a comment below. And before we go, let's take a look at the answer of the day from a previous video. And today's answer comes from Bad Roommates 37. What was the question I asked for that? Oh yeah, it's like things that you prefer just to buy rather than make from scratch. Let's see. Today's answer comes from Kathy Beckford. Now that there is no more bakery to work in, I find it more convenient to buy bread. When I'd want some, I'd just make an extra of a Friday standing order for myself. Maybe I just need a little break. I've been thinking about making it again, though. Don't you mean making it again, dough? And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.